MrBetter.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. This is our free broadcast. We do this for the public, 20 minutes, half hour kind of idea. Hopefully give you a nice summary of what the heck's going on in the world and anything really of note that jumps out. Howdy politician. All right, not quite sure what that comment is in reference to. How can you tell when a politician's lying to you? Let's see. We'll start off with a snarky little snark from the Beamish. And I hate to say it. I mean, the irony of it all is that I think Mr. Trump had to learn how to blatantly lie to the public there over the past few years. And what's so fascinating is watching technocrats transition into politics and have to learn how to lie to the public regularly. And actually, we'll talk a little bit about it in a bit. But the idiot that is in charge of my country, he just got handed a massive political loss there. I guess 2 days ago. It was late. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning or something that they finished the tally yesterday. So maybe we'll call it yesterday. But anyway, the doofus that he hired as Canada's finance minister, no experience whatsoever in the financial services industry. And it's beautiful to watch. She's clearly not a politician. So whatever she is squeamish about the questions that are asked of her by the media, it's almost hilarious to watch her just completely not answer the question, because clearly she hasn't learned the gift of politicians, the ability to lie to your face and not break a sweat. Anyway, it is what it is. Somebody in the Zoom call here just posted politician with an exclamation mark. So that got me going there anyway. So good morning, everybody. Obviously, we have a fairly limited audience here at TRI, but good to see we got our regulars tuning in. And of course, today is Wednesday, which means that we'll do an after party. And if anything in the after party today, we should spend a good portion of the time reviewing the dashboard and reviewing some signals that have come in here recently. And the screeners that I have up and running. And actually what's super cool now, oh my goodness, this is so awesome. Can't wait to show all of you how you can set up on your profile to have certain screener information sent to you in your email on a daily basis. And I looked at my email this morning and I almost fell off my chair because the ideas were so cool. So lots to talk about in the after party here today. News-wise today, you can see how we've been talking recently. And of course, we've got our little itinerary on the screen here. So I'm probably best to try and just simply follow that. And that way we give you a nice, consistent, concise report. So first off, we have the breadth. And as I just pointed out there a second ago, we did have the market lifting off of a nice W breadth-wise, sort of the entire market lifting here. Kind of, this run, I think that really what we're doing here is we're just oscillating around the 50 line on this breadth. Is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? And does this, are we just sort of oscillating around here because we can't quite figure out whether it's half full or half empty? It is interesting too that news-wise, of course, we have Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden. They're first of, I think there's 2 or 3 of these scheduled debates. It's kind of weird though. They're not doing these debates live. And maybe it's because maybe, halfway through a sentence, one of these two might fall over. I mean, it's stunning how old they are and how completely out of touch with reality both of them are, really. But I don't know. It seems to be the case for politics these days. So anyway, we've got that coming up, and maybe a lot of people in the market are kind of like, yeah, I don't know whether I really want to take a big bet ahead of this. Also, too interesting to see the crypto industry, same sort of thing. I think a lot of people are just sort of sitting on the sidelines, just waiting for some sort of indication of changing the narrative. Actually, it was kind of interesting. I did see, like, news wise, and interesting how this sort of juxtaposes with the political situation. Is I do believe that the pendulum is starting to finally swing back the other direction. This whole wokeness, crazy world that we lived in, shop teachers with ridiculously huge fake breasts that they actually feel comfortable walking around in public looking like that. Absolutely baffling. What a crazy ass world that was. Thank God we're heading out the other side of it. Did see some really interesting, weird things going on in the world, though. And I don't know whether I have it here, but I think I do. Do you guys see these monoliths are popping up all over the world? Talk about freaky. This is like 2001: A Space Odyssey. I don't know whether you remember that movie. But these monoliths are popping up all over the place. Europe, North America. So, maybe our days are numbered here. Something big's about to happen here. Good old planet Earth. If anything, it's probably a high time that we finally have the narrative changed on this silly species. Anyway, we'll see what happens. So there's some really odd stuff going on in the world. Um, Econs out today. Didn't really see anything earth shattering. Not a lot of news, but new home sales. That's a number that's going to get people's attention. Down 11% on the day. Ooh, that's a big number. And what we also saw was crude inventories are jacking up. Looks like the market was actually looking for a drawdown, and it came the exact opposite, a huge build. And more importantly, and this is really a function of how the consumer is feeling, unleaded gasoline inventories, humans hitting the highways this summer for summer driving season. I don't think they are. I think people are doing this staycation. I think that's what they used to call it years ago, where there will be no bigger summer road trip kind of idea. Who knows? I would also say too, for sort of the brick and mortars. I mean, these are almost laughable because it's kind of like the police are policing themselves. And are the police ever going to give themselves, if there is no ramifications one way or the other, are they ever going to give themselves a failing grade? No. But nonetheless, we have a big bank stress test that should be released after the market closes today. And my hunch is that they're probably going to highlight the fact that, in the United States, they still have a regional banking system. And of course, the Rothschilds and the FOMC, Federal Reserve Board, whatever the hell you want to call it, the cartel, they would prefer that the United States of America move towards like a communist China kind of model. Here in China, there's about 5 or 6 money center banks that control the whole country. And of course, if you're a Rothschild, that's exactly the business model you want. Uh, if you can't have a monopoly in this world, what's the next best thing? Oligopoly, right? And Canada is just notorious. Every single major industry in Canada is basically dominated by oligopolies. And of course, oligopolies, you just think about it, mom and pop grocery stores, lots of competition, prices are kept relatively cheap. In the oligopoly grocery store world, now these bastards have the audacity to say things like chicken is a specialty meat and you will eat the bugs and you will like it. I added in that extra part. But anyway, the point being that it wouldn't surprise me if people on Wall Street are going to be a little bit cautious ahead of this bank stress test, but I don't think there's going to be a hell of a lot that comes out of it other than well, we need to get rid of this regional banking system. That's the vulnerability. And we need to create more of an oligopoly where more power is concentrated in fewer hands, because that's good for business. Not really good for the public, but fuck the public. Who gives a shit about them? Anyway, demonetize. Boom. Anyway, so Econs, not a hell of a lot out today, but I'll tell you, that new home sales number, that's going to grab people's attention. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. What's interesting too, though, is we even had data, I think it was yesterday, where we had year over year housing prices actually went up like 7% down in the States. So maybe this is just purely a function of the sticker shock that the public is suffering right now, and they're at their wits' end, and as a result, sales are falling off. Also, too, we might make the argument that this is a month over month number, and we're heading out of the seasonally friendly window for the housing industry. Usually, March, April, May, that's usually the peak sort of time when people want to move and get new houses. Now we're into June. I suppose this probably is May's data, which, if anything, is probably a further anecdote that the housing market is. What's interesting is I remember back when the dot-com bubble burst, and it was actually at that point that I remember specifically in 2001 that the DR Horton and KB Homes and all of them, they all put in massive weekly bottoms, and that was actually the start of their bull market. So here we are like 20 years later. That's an old story. If anything, I'm actually pretty surprised that the housing market is continuing on the way that it is. Interesting anecdote that I keep hearing out of my country, which is fascinating, is it turns out that the Vancouver housing market for sort of the la da da west side, ooh, all the richies, $1 million houses, it actually topped out in 2016, which would make sense. 2018, end of 17, beginning of 18 was the fear greed cycle apex. And it turns out that those house prices in sort of the more fancy schmancy neighborhoods have actually done nothing over the past 8 years. I was quite surprised to hear that the other day. If you are interested, reach out. I can send you the social media guy who's a local real estate expert who keeps going on about this. That's a fascinating development. I was very surprised by that. Anyway, so the point of the matter here is I don't think we have econs that are overly bullish of the market. If anything, that's probably cautionary. And the oil inventories, especially these gasoline inventories, I think that the fundamentals here are actually a little bit bearish, and it kind of makes sense too. I mean, do you see how expensive crude oil is these days? Should it really be $80+ a barrel? Anyway. Okay, so that's sort of your econ backdrop. Not a hell of a lot to get excited about. It is interesting that the Dow actually started the day quite negative. They've been clawing it back. And as I said there earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if right out of the gate, a lot of the financial stocks were kind of like, we got this stress test coming up here, so maybe we ought to just cool our jets here. And so they've just been sort of floundering here, waiting for that stress test information to come out. And once again, we have this kind of dichotomy world where, the broader economy, measured by things like the Russell 2000, it's actually down on the day. But good old NASDAQ and tech stocks, led by things like Allen. I think I saw earlier today, Allen, now that he's secured his ridiculous pay package, he's actually started up the Barnum and Bailey show again. And I noticed that Tesla's chart's starting to perk back up, but Amazon, Apple, typical culprits, and NASDAQ surging to new highs. So we put it all together, S&P 500, mix of the big and the small, and it's basically a zero-sum game today. Hurry up and do nothing. I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't really like it, but nonetheless, it is what it is. I would not be surprised if you see Allen and Tesla actually do probably pretty well through the summer here. Kind of the same thing as crypto. I kind of think that crypto is pretty much washed out here now. our breadth indicators and all that kind of talk. Not really. Well, I mean, I suppose we can show you, although I have to move this away. Hold on a second. Oh, that's not that button. How am I going to do this? I have to unmaximize the YouTube page. Then I have to find this link over here and then do this and then do that. And there we go. All right. Thank you, sir. So as I had said earlier, breadth of the broader market kind of just meh. If anything, this makes perfect sense based on what you saw out of the Dow and the S&P and the Russell 2000. We'll look at it in the after party. I don't like looking on these free broadcasts, the paid for services at TRI. But you can see the crypto market itself actually got really washed out there on the 7th. And we've been kind of just sort of treading water here. In fact, actually, you can see even on the short term, got a few names actually perking up here a bit. Did point out I guess it was yesterday, because Tuesdays we do a CTO report from Sjord. And we talk a lot of crypto in the after party. And I actually pointed out there were a bunch of W's coming in on a lot of these little junior names. So I do think that a lot of the crypto market is completely washed out. And you can even see on our sort of weekly commodity trend survey, this is the crypto top 30. Half of the crypto top 30 is actually in very attractive trade locations. What a surprise. And of course, the public, not even the slightest bit interested right now. And tragically, these things will all bottom out. They'll all start ramping up in through, July, August, maybe even into early September. Market will get nice and fluffy again, banging out doubles, blah, blah, blah. And then the public will come in. I mean, it's just so cliche how this works. So, not really a big surprise. Crypto market pretty washed out. We actually got the official, this market is ridiculously oversold indicator. And what a surprise. Like I said, we've got half of our big crypto top 30 index actually saying, if you actually invest in this stuff for serious, now's the time to pay attention. So not a big surprise. It's business as usual. Looking at the broader stock market, some things that are kind of bothering me a little bit. I mean, this S&P 500, it's moved an awfully long way. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of back and forth here, big gaps higher here. This is the daily ES chart. And then also too, looking at the indicators, you can see Willie is stupidly overbought. So really we should be careful there anyway. The bands on RSI though are expanding, meaning volatility could really kick in here. And price could be all over the map. This isn't really a good place to come in and buy the stock market, I think. If anything, we probably want to let this thing settle down, W out, and then maybe think about buying. We'll leave off this free broadcast, quick boo at yield corn. And I hate to say it, but I think it's the same sort of conversation. We didn't break down in earnest. And, your breakdown in Bitcoin will be if you see the market trading below that 5650 area here. That will confirm this massive double top. I've been talking to you guys recently about how we're probably stuck in a moving average sandwich now. Fast moving average is resistance. Medium moving average is support. If we look at the daily chart, then the medium moving average is resistance. The long-term moving average of the daily charts is support. And I hate to say it, but I think we're just stuck in a sandwich here. And really, we can't really get bullish until we actually start seeing W's. If anything, the traders got to trade. We are in trade location. If you are going to take a shot against these lows, just understand if we lose these lows, that those bets are off, because if this thing wants to puke out, it is a long way down from here. So just be aware of that, folks. I put a tweet out the other day saying, how would you feel right now if you actually saw Bitcoin come off like 10, 20 grand? Would you be like, all right, this is awesome. This is a buying opportunity. I've been waiting for this. Or would you be like, oh God, I went and listened to people telling me to buy at $70,000 and now I'm dying 1,000 deaths. I didn't actually really get that many responses out of that question of social media. And I don't know whether maybe it was just sort of like, well, you know what? We don't even want to think about that possibility, Brian. So I'm not even going to acknowledge that question. I was euchred out of fantastic shorts up here, drive you crazy. Still got this one short working over here on Ethereum. There's no reason to touch this whatsoever. It's the same conversation as Bitcoin. Off of the daily charts, we're trapped in a moving average sandwich where I will be given permission to take partial profits at 2 to 1, which is nothing more than just a stab down into reload zones. And really, I wouldn't be surprised if we have a date with this 200 SMA here in the not too distant future. Lower highs and lower lows defines a bear. What I thought was interesting about this chart was we could have potentially actually gone and fractaled out here. And if we had traded up through this high, which was on this particular stamp chart, was 34.2590. Notice, look at today's high. This is suspicious. 34.2520. And then it rolled over, which interestingly enough means that if we go through, and you want to just keep an eye on this, would probably be a good reference for you. If we go through 3335.1, so $3,335.10, then that actually becomes an inside bar sell signal. And it'd be interesting too, because it will mean that we basically rejected off of the test of this trend line. So interesting to see today's low here, 334610. So we like literally bounced $11 off of that low. I would feel comfortable if you see the market through that low later on today. We're probably going to be continuing this push to the downside here. I'd also say too, from what I understand, we've been sort of pushed off to early July for the official ETF launch of Ethereum. And keep in mind, when we look at the Bitcoin chart, when did that ETF actually launch? Do I have it on here? I don't even think I do. But has Bitcoin really outperformed since that ETF launch? I don't think so. So just because ETF is going to be launched for Ethereum, I don't necessarily think that that's actually a buy signal. If anything, what I think's happening here is you can almost see this, and this to me is the absolute perfect analogy of this sort of Fink controlled world where we're in a bear market, but of course they're going to try and get the public to, this is the bottom, you got to buy now, and basically goes, we broke fractal top, then went sideways for 12 sessions, and then finally broke, created a new trading range where the old sort of support zone of the old range now becomes resistance. We go sideways for 12 days. Let's see if we can get the public all rah bullish. This is it. This is the bull. And boom, after 12 bars, we break to a new trading range. And as I had said there a moment ago, I did find it fascinating that the counter trend rally here just sort of stalled right against that 50% level and that high from yesterday. Kind of like what they did here. Notice inside bar, market could not get back above that level. So what this says to me, and I guess we'll leave the broadcast off here, is I'm not really expecting a lot of up or a lot of down over the next, I guess we got 10 more bars to go here. I have talked to all of you about, in my personal experience over the past 10 years in this space, I usually expect that this market is relatively weak through into the July 4th holiday weekend. So there is that Bitcoin ETF. It's interesting how this is going to be a big national holiday for a lot of various countries around the world, excluding the US. And I think they do that on purpose, like the 1%, the banksters, Rothschilds, all those crooks, so that they can screw around with the markets. US market hegemony is open, but the rest of the world is closed. So, lots of bank holiday, all that kind of stuff around the world. And of course, liquidity disappears. So the 1% can really screw with the market. I would imagine that this next week, I don't necessarily think that we have bottomed yet, but I definitely think that we are going to be going through the bottoming process over this next week or two. So let's see what happens here. Hopefully I can get this 2-to-1 level hit on this Ethereum trade to at least sell half on a 2-to-1, move my stop to scratch, and then I don't really care what happens after that. If the market pukes out, great, this trade looks like a rock star. If the market bottoms and comes back, fine, you made a couple bucks on the first half of the trade and you walk at scratch on the rest. I mean, that's ideally the way this scenario I'd like to see it play out. Having said that, just got to be patient and disciplined, really not really do a hell of a lot. Stops at scratch and just sitting there picking your nose. And that's sort of the trading perspective. And then finally, does it make sense that if you are a little old lady, that this market has got opportunity written all over it? There really is no quote unquote buy signal here yet. But Willie is stupidly oversold. It'd be kind of a doofus to be stepping up and selling this asset here. That's just dumb. We're basically back against the bottom ends of ranges. And interestingly enough, you can actually see that on balance, it does look like the amount of interest in this asset, it looks like it bottomed out here, and we've actually been sort of ramping up lately. And we got some green chunky bars here. I mean, if these things do start Wing out, looks like we got a cute little W trying to come in. Not quite, but almost. But really good example of bullish divergence here in RSI, considering we made a new low here recently. So you can say trade location. Willie is stupid. Bullish divergences are building. Really, all we need is, can I please have a nice, good-looking W to come in here? And this is just one example. I could go through name after name after name in the altcoin space that I think that actually, if you're really serious about making money in the market and speculating, I think you actually have to force yourself to come in here and start accumulating this stuff, while everybody else in the public and stuff is not even the slightest bit interested. And that's actually typically how this goes. It's really just so cliche. When Brian's interested, usually the public is not. When Brian's freaking out and getting all pissed off at the public for being stupidly bullish, Gucci sweater wearers, questionable people over there in the United Arab Emirates. I won't say names. This time it's different. That's when Brian, of course, is like, stay the hell away from this stuff. So really, it's just business as usual. Anybody want to make some money from trading? Now's the time to pay attention. All right, why don't we leave it at that? That was about 20, 25 minutes or so, because we started about 7 minutes past the top of the hour. So I think that's a pretty good offering for you. And hopefully you're just hearing the same message from Brian repeatedly over and over and over again. If anything, that's the one thing that I hear a lot of people actually very happy about, is that I'm incredibly consistent in my message. So my message is we're not quite at the bottom, but we're very close, probably within a couple weeks. And then we can go back into summer silly season and banging out doubles and the whole damn thing, Solana and stuff. Maybe in the after party, we'll take a look at some Solana names, because actually I've been doing some buying in there recently. So, all right, everybody, have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Slow, steady wins race. The only thing left Brian said to you is bye.